Meditation and Spiritual Life, Swami Yatiswarananda. Change of attitude towards ourselves. Firstly, what is this attitude? We consider that we are this body with these attributes, physical and mental. We have a past, we have a present, we have aspirations. If this attitude has a particular value, then if we change this attitude and develop a new attitude where I see myself not as a limited being rather than a divine being, not limited by the body and mind, then what is the value? What benefits? What challenges? Let's see, in Greek mythology, there is a story of Narcissus, a beautiful youth who fell in love with his own reflection in the waters of a pool. He pined away and died because of self love can end only in frustration. Such self love is a disease which Dr. Carl Jung has correctly diagnosed when he says the ego is ill for the very reason that it is cut off from the whole and has lost its connection with mankind and with the spirit, which is the true self, the spirit, the divine principle. There is a Hindu saying, having drunk the wine of ignorance, the whole world becomes mad. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, all troubles come to an end when the ego dies. And a man achieves neither knowledge nor liberation as long as he has egotism. Further, he used to say, when bound by ties, one is Jiva, and when free from ties, one is Shiva. Now, this ties, if I'm tied to my body and mind complex, I become limited. The divine principle appears to be Jiva. The same Jiva becomes Shiva when it realizes its freedom. Sri Ramakrishna used to, Patanjali, the great teacher of yoga, describes how the soul is swayed by ignorance, which is not a negative entity, for it creates a dangerous fantasy known as egotism. Egotism breeds attachment, attachment leads to aversion. The result of this chain reaction is a tremendous clinging to life and suffering. To be egocentric is to be spiritually ill. All spiritual paths are designed to cure the illness of the ego. In Hindu teaching, we speak of these paths as yogas. First of all comes karma yoga or selfless activity, that I am not the doer and I am not adhikari of the fruits of the action. So the ego, through practice of karma as yoga, is sublimated, in which the fruits of all works are offered to the Supreme Spirit in a spirit of self surrender. Gradually, every kind of activity becomes a self offering, and the selfish ego is conquered. We have also the path of Raj Yoga, which proceeds by concentrating the mind on higher and higher levels of personality. In the course of this investigation, the soul finds that it is not the ego or the mind, but a separate spiritual entity. The seeker strives to dispose of his ego by dwelling on the true nature of the self, and this destroys the great illusion that confuses it with the body and the mind. In Jnana Yoga, the spiritual seeker goes still further. From individual consciousness, he rises to the cosmic consciousness. The ego gets merged in Brahman. In this yoga of knowledge, even the subtlest form of I consciousness is destroyed. When I understand, for example, in Drishya Viveka, that there's a subject and object relationship. Object is the external world, I am the observer. What observes and who is the observed? If we go on analyzing, we reach the subtlest, subtle to the subtler to the subtlest, and we come face to face with what this I consciousness is, which can be transcended. But the easiest path to follow during the Kali Yoga, the present age in which we live, is the path of devotion, Bhakti Yoga. So I am not this person, rather, I am the Bhakta of God, the servant of God, the friend of God, the mother of God, the child of God. So there are five bhavas in our scriptures. Mm, Servant, Dasya Bhav, Balya Bhav, I'm the child, Matri Bhav, Vatsalya Bhav, the mother, Sakha Bhav, and Madhura Bhav, the lover of God Himself. These human mm, relationships are divinized, and that's the path of Bhakti Yoga. The spiritual aspirant worships God as Father, Mother, Friend, Comrade, all with intense love and self surrender. Our lives become a continuous service to the Lord. Sri Ramakrishna said, "It is true that one or two can get rid of the I through Samadhi, Raj Yoga, uh, and a combination of Jnana Yoga, but these cases are very rare. Therefore, if the I must remain, let the rascal remain as the servant." Through this loving service, the ego gradually loses its evil nature. Ramakrishna used to say, the kacha aham, the unripe ego, can be converted into ripe ego. I, the individual self, can mm, think that I am the servant of the Lord, which when practiced diligently and with utmost care and self surrender, the unripe ego ripes as it were. Through this loving service, the ego gradually loses its evil nature. What is this evil nature? Selfishness, nothing else. Selfishness begets all evil, gets transmuted into the higher jiva, which acts as the instrument in the hands of the Lord. In the words of Sri Ramakrishna, the unripe ego is changed into the ripe ego, which is harmless. We can actually feel the separateness of the self, not only from the body but also from the mind. As one practices the moral and spiritual disciplines of yoga, yama and niyama, one comes to have a sharp awareness of the individual spirit, indivisible spirit. Right now it is divided into me, mine, and the other, so that we become aware of the indivisibility of our spirit as the individual and dwelling within a specific human body. When what is divided is not the jivatman but the individual mind. What we think of as separateness is due to a cleavage in the mind. Moral, culture, and spiritual practice awaken a new sense, the faculty of intuition that reveals to us that we are neither the body nor the mind. We can be the witness of our own thoughts and emotions. As the Upanishad has it, the soul expresses itself through the senses. The senses are instruments of the soul. There is a great joy in this realization that soul is expressing through itself through the senses, and these senses are only instruments. And there's a great joy in this realization that the soul can be separated from the body, that we are not really bound by the limitations. These limitations of our human life actually begets so much fear and frustration constantly. So once realization sets in that I am separate from it, immense joy is the natural result. But how to reach it? Sadhana, beginning from moral and spiritual disciplines, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. So that is part of Raj Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is there, Karma Yoga is there, Jnana Yoga is there. Only thing is, we read, how much do we do? When we forget this truth about our real nature and identify ourselves with the ego, this limited ego, unripe ego, we become a plaything of nature. The egocentric individual is like a play ball in the hands of a capricious child. I am the child, actually. So he has no freedom. He is at the mercy of the forces of nature. People who are highly egotistic will find spiritual life very difficult. They mistake their own lower impulses for something very grand. They follow their own lower intuitions and follow them. They do not pause to listen to still small voice of conscience within them. A certain amount of ego reduction is an essential prerequisite for all people who want to embark on the spiritual adventure. What is needed is not just false outer humility but a dignified modesty based on faith in our potential divinity. Without an attitude of self surrender to the divine, a spirit of dispassion, and a spirit of acceptance of moral correctiveness, spiritual life becomes very difficult. In other words, we should strive to bring about a total change in our attitude towards ourselves, towards the world, and towards God.